Commander Jake Martinez stared out the viewing port at the massive alien station floating in space. Above the planet Kepler 442b, the structure was enormous, easily 10 times larger than Earth's biggest space stations. Strange shapes and colors covered its surface, built by dozens of different alien races over thousands of years. Jake had never seen anything like it. "First time seeing the Galactic Council station?" asked Captain Lisa Carter, standing beside him. She was Earth's top military strategist, a woman who had never lost a battle. Her calm voice did not hide the worry in her eyes. "Yeah," Jake replied. "Makes you feel pretty small, doesn't it?" Their ship, the Earth vessel Determination, docked with the alien station with a soft thud. Jake adjusted his dress uniform one last time. As Earth's official representative, he needed to look his best. The future of humanity might depend on what happened in the next few hours. The airlock opened with a hiss. 2 alien guards waited for them. One was tall and covered in what looked like natural armor plating. Its eyes glowed red, and sharp bone spikes stuck out from its shoulders and arms. The other alien was completely different, smooth, pale, and almost human-looking, except for its completely black eyes and the way it seemed to float slightly above the ground. "Commander Martinez," the armored alien spoke in perfect English, though its voice sounded like grinding metal. "I am Captain Vorth of the Thorian Defense Force. This is Counselor Nith of the Vegan Empire. The Council awaits you." Jake and Lisa followed the aliens through corridors that seemed to stretch forever. The walls were covered in strange symbols and moving lights. Other aliens walked past them, some that looked like living crystals, others that seemed to be made of gas held together in transparent suits, and creatures Jake could not even begin to describe. "How many species are on the Council?" Lisa whispered. 47, Counselor Nith answered without turning around. "Each one conquered their enemies and claimed their place through strength. That is the way of the galaxy." They entered a massive chamber shaped like a bowl. Hundreds of aliens sat in seats that rose up the curved walls. At the center, 5 enormous thrones held the most important members of the Council. Jake recognized them from the intelligence reports Earth had received. Admiral Zexkar of the Thorian Empire sat in the largest throne. He was 12 feet tall, covered in thick armor plates that looked like they had grown from his skin. Bone spurs stuck out from his knuckles, and his face was a mass of scars. He looked like he could tear a human in half without effort. Empress Lithora of the Vegan Empire occupied the throne to his right. She appeared almost human, but her skin was pale white and her hair was silver. Her black eyes seemed to look right through Jake, as if she could read his thoughts. The intelligence reports said she could. The other 3 council leaders represented the Silicoid Collective, the Nebular Consortium, and the Reptilian Federation. Each one looked more dangerous than the last. "Human," Admiral Zexkar's voice boomed through the chamber. "You stand accused of illegal expansion into territories that belong to the elder races. Your species has claimed 17 star systems in the past 50 years. This expansion ends now." Jake stepped forward. "With respect, Admiral, those systems were empty when we found them. No one had claimed them." "Empty?" Empress Lithora's voice was soft but cold. "Those systems contain resources that rightfully belong to races that have existed for millions of years. Your species has been spacefaring for barely 2 centuries. You are children playing with toys you do not understand. We followed all the laws of space exploration," Lisa said. "We surveyed each system thoroughly. We found no signs of intelligent life or previous claims." A sound like grinding stone came from the chamber. It took Jake a moment to realize the aliens were laughing. "Laws?" Admiral Zexkar stood up from his throne. "The only law in this galaxy is strength. The strong take what they want. The weak serve or die. This has been the way for 10 million years. "Then what do you want from us?" Jake asked. "Simple. The Admiral smiled, showing teeth like broken glass. Trial by combat. Single combat between champions fought in the ancient arena on Zarian Prime. Winner takes all. Jake felt his heart sink. He had hoped for negotiations, trade agreements, maybe even some kind of peaceful solution. But these aliens only understood violence. What are the terms? He asked. Empress Lithara spoke. Each side chooses champions. The combat takes place in the Zarian arena, a place where disputes have been settled for thousands of years. The energy field around the arena prevents any weapons from functioning. No technology, no projectiles, no blades, nothing artificial. Only natural strength and skill matter. If we refuse? Lisa asked. Then the combined fleets of the Galactic Council will reduce Earth to dust. Admiral Zexkar said simply. Your choice is combat or extinction. Jake looked around the chamber. Hundreds of alien eyes stared back at him, waiting for his answer. Some looked amused, others bored. None looked sympathetic. How long do we have to prepare? He asked. 1 month, the Admiral replied. Choose your champions wisely, human. They will be facing the greatest warriors in the galaxy. I accept, Jake said. The words felt heavy in his mouth. The chamber erupted in sounds that might have been cheering or growling. Jake could not tell the difference. As they were escorted back to their ship, Lisa grabbed Jake's arm. We can't win this, she whispered. Look at them. They're all natural-born killers. Humans aren't built for that kind of combat. Jake nodded. Grimly, I know. But what choice did we have? Back on their ship, as they prepared to return to Earth, Lisa stared at the intelligence files about the Zarian arena. Something about the rules bothered her. The energy field prevented weapons, but what exactly counted as a weapon? The rules were ancient, written in a time when warfare was much simpler. Jake, she said slowly. What if we're thinking about this all wrong? What do you mean? They expect us to fight like them. But what if we don't? What if we fight like humans? Jake looked at her with confusion. I don't follow. Lisa smiled for the first time since they had arrived at the station. They said no weapons allowed. But they never said anything about using our brains. As the determination jumped to hyperspace, heading back toward Earth, Lisa began forming a plan that would either save humanity or get them all killed. But it was better than no plan at all. The greatest challenge in human history was about to begin. The moment the determination landed on Earth, Lisa Carter rushed to the Pentagon. She had 3 weeks to put together a team that could somehow defeat alien warriors who had been bred for combat. The Secretary of Defense was waiting for her in the briefing room, along with General Roberts and Admiral Stone. What do we have, Carter? General Roberts asked. Lisa pulled up holographic displays showing the alien champions. Bad news first. We're facing 4 of the deadliest beings in the galaxy. Admiral Zexkar himself is entering the arena. He's killed over 300 opponents in single combat. His bone spurs can punch through steel plating. She switched to the next image. Seleneth, daughter of Empress Lithara. She can read minds and has venom in her claws that can paralyze a human in seconds. Then there's Gorthik from the Silicoid Collective. His crystalline body can reshape itself into blades and hammers. The final image showed something that looked like a cloud of gas in a containment suit. Vex Mori of the Nebular Consortium. He can phase through solid matter and suffocate opponents by entering their lungs. Jesus, Admiral Stone muttered. What's the good news? The arena rules, Lisa said with a slight smile. No weapons allowed means exactly that. The energy field destroys anything artificial. But it doesn't affect the natural environment of the arena itself. She brought up detailed scans of Zarian Prime. The arena is a living ecosystem. 5 miles across, filled with dangerous plants, unstable geology, and native predators. The aliens think this levels the playing field by removing technology. But they're wrong. How so? The secretary asked. They're still thinking like warriors. Individual combat, strength against strength. But humans have never been the strongest species on Earth. We survived by being smarter. We used tools, we cooperated, we adapted. We made the environment work. For us instead of against us. Lisa pointed to specific areas on the map. I'm not sending soldiers to this fight. I'm sending specialists who can turn the entire arena into our weapon. General Roberts frowned. What kind of specialists? I need Ben Taylor first. He runs the survival training program in Alaska. 20 years of experience in hostile environments. He can read animal behavior like a book and knows how to move through dangerous territory without being detected. Lisa pulled up another file. Amy Rodriguez. She's a structural engineer who specializes in controlled demolitions. She can look at a cliff face and tell you exactly where to apply pressure to bring the whole thing down. And, Admiral Stone prompted, Pete Johnson, animal behaviorist from the San Diego Zoo. He spent his career studying how predators hunt and how prey animals survive. He understands pack dynamics and territorial behavior better than anyone. The Secretary of Defense looked skeptical. You want to send a park ranger, an engineer, and a zookeeper to fight alien super warriors? I want to send 3 people who can turn 5 miles of hostile wilderness into a death trap, Lisa corrected. The aliens expect us to meet them head-on. In combat. Instead, we're going to make the arena itself our ally. This is insane, General Roberts said. It's our only chance, Lisa replied. We can't outfight them, but we can outthink them. 3 days later, Ben Taylor arrived at the secret facility in Nevada. He was a tall, weathered man in his 40s who looked like he had spent his entire life outdoors. His handshake was firm. His eyes sharp and alert. So you want me to help fight aliens, he said, looking around the high-tech briefing room. Can't say I saw that coming when I woke up this morning. Amy Rodriguez came next. She was younger, maybe 30, with calloused hands and engineering diagrams sticking out of her jacket pocket. She studied the arena maps with intense focus. These rock formations are unstable, she said after an hour of analysis. One good push in the right place and you could trigger landslides across half the arena. And look at these underground water channels. They feed natural geysers that erupt on a predictable schedule. Pete Johnson was the last to arrive. He was a quiet man who seemed more comfortable around animals than people. But when he started talking about the arena's ecosystem, his whole demeanor changed. Shard wolves, he said, pointing to movement in the surveillance footage. Pack hunters, highly territorial. They use coordinated attacks to bring down prey much larger than themselves. And these, he indicated some bird-like creatures, are scavengers. They follow the wolves and signal their location to other predators. Lisa watched her team study the arena data. The alien observers, monitoring Earth's preparations through their embassy, reported back that the humans were acting strangely. Instead of combat training, they were taking notes on plants and animals. Instead of building weapons, they were practicing with ropes and basic tools. They're pathetic, Admiral Zexkar told the council. Their champions spend their time watching nature documentaries and drawing maps. They clearly don't understand what they're facing. But Lisa understood perfectly. While the alien champions were training their already deadly skills, her team was learning something far more valuable. They were learning how to disappear into the environment, how to read the subtle signs that predicted animal behavior, how to calculate the exact pressure needed to trigger geological events. Ben practiced, moving silently through different terrains, leaving no trace of his passage. Amy studied stress fractures and calculated timing sequences down to the second. Pete learned to identify individual animals by their tracks and predict their territorial responses. The key, Lisa explained to her team, is that we're not trying to kill them directly. We're going to manipulate the environment so that the arena itself defeats them. Every step they take will be guided by our actions. Every choice they make will be one we've prepared for." "What if they figure out what we're doing?" Amy asked. "They won't," Pete replied. "Predators like them are focused on direct threats. They won't see environmental manipulation as an attack until it's too late." As the weeks passed, Lisa's confidence grew. The aliens were preparing for a battle, but humans were preparing for something much more sophisticated. They were preparing to conduct an orchestra of destruction using the arena's own natural systems as their instruments. The alien champions continued their brutal training, each one capable of tearing a human apart with their bare hands. But they had no idea that 4 humans were about to turn their greatest advantage, their natural arena, into their ultimate weakness. Time was running out, but Lisa felt ready. The aliens expected a fight. Instead, they were going to get a demonstration of human ingenuity that would change how the galaxy viewed Earth forever. The transport ship carrying the human team dropped out of hyperspace near Zarian Prime. Through the viewing port, Lisa Carter could see the ancient planet below. Most of its surface was covered in thick jungle, but one area had been cleared long ago to create the arena. Even from space, she could see the massive energy dome that covered the fighting ground. "Looks peaceful enough," Ben Taylor said, checking his simple gear one last time. He carried nothing but basic survival equipment, rope, and a few small tools. That would pass the weapon scanners. Amy Rodriguez was studying her tablet, reviewing the geological data they had gathered. "The underground river system is more complex than we thought. If we time this right, we can trigger water eruptions in sequence across the entire arena." Pete Johnson stood quietly by the window, watching the planet turn below them. "The ecosystem down there has been isolated for thousands of years. The animals won't have any fear of alien species. That works in our favor." Their ship docked with the arena station orbiting the planet. Immediately, they were surrounded by alien spectators who had come to watch humanity's defeat. Most of them towered over the humans, with natural weapons like claws, spikes, and armored skin. "Look at them," one alien laughed, pointing at the human team. "They're so small and soft. This will be over in minutes." The human team was escorted to the preparation area. Through the thick windows, they could see the arena below. It was even bigger than the pictures had shown. Dense forest covered most of the area, with rocky cliffs on one side and open grassland on the other. A river wound through the middle, feeding several smaller streams. "Magnificent," Admiral Zexkar said, entering the viewing area. His massive form filled the doorway. "For 10,000 years, the greatest warriors in the galaxy have fought in this arena. Today, it will witness the end of human expansion." Lisa looked up at the alien admiral without fear. "We'll see about that." The alien champions were announced to the crowd first. Admiral Zexkar himself stepped onto the transport platform. His bone spurs gleamed in the light, and his armor plates looked thick enough to stop bullets. The crowd roared its approval. SYL single quotes Neth came next. The vegan princess moved like a dancer, but Lisa could see the deadly grace in every step. Her pale skin seemed to glow, and her black eyes swept the arena below. "Already planning her hunt. Geo RTH single quotes K of the Silicoid Collective looked like a walking statue made of crystal. As he moved, his body shifted and changed shape, showing how he could form weapons from his own flesh. The light bent strangely around him, creating rainbow patterns that hurt to look at. Finally, Vex Mori appeared in his containment suit. The nebular being was harder to see, looking like smoke trapped in a transparent shell. But Lisa knew he could leave that suit at will and become nearly impossible to fight. And now, the announcer's voice boomed across the arena, "The human champions." The crowd fell silent as the 4 humans stepped onto the platform. Compared to the alien warriors, they looked like children playing dress-up. Ben wore simple outdoor clothing and carried a small pack. Amy had her engineering tools and measuring devices. Pete looked nervous, clutching a notebook full of animal behavior observations. Lisa wore standard military fatigues and carried only a compass and a mirror for signaling. The aliens in the crowd began laughing again. "This is your mighty team?" Empress Lithara asked from her throne. "They look like scientists, not warriors." "They are exactly what we need," Lisa replied calmly. The transport platforms descended into the arena. The energy field activated with a low humming sound, and Lisa felt her radio equipment shut down as the field destroyed all artificial technology. From now on, they would be completely on their own. The arena floor was covered in thick grass that reached up to their knees. The air smelled of flowers and damp earth. In the distance, they could hear the calls of unknown animals and the sound of running water. "Remember the plan," Lisa whispered to her team. "Spread out to your positions. Wait for my signal." The alien champions immediately began hunting. Admiral Zexkar charged straight toward the humans, his heavy footsteps shaking the ground. But Ben was already moving, disappearing into the tall grass like a ghost. The alien admiral found nothing but empty ground where his prey had been standing. Sileneth tried to use her mind-reading abilities to track the humans, but Pete had anticipated this. He had studied vegan psychology and knew their telepathic powers. Worked best on emotions like fear and anger. The human team stayed calm and focused, giving her nothing to lock onto. Gorthak began reshaping his crystalline body into hunting forms, but Amy was already at work. She had identified the key stress points in the rocky cliffs during their planning phase. Using nothing but leverage and timing, she began applying pressure to critical joints in the rock face. Vexmori left his containment suit and became a cloud of gas, drifting through the arena to search for the hidden humans. But he had no idea that Pete was tracking his movement patterns, learning his behavior just like any other predator. The alien spectators watched in confusion as the arena seemed empty except for their champions. The humans had vanished completely, leaving no trace of their passage. This was not the glorious combat they had expected. "Where are they?" Admiral Zexkar roared, smashing through bushes and trees in his search. What he didn't know was that Ben was only 50 feet away, crouched in a natural depression and covered with local vegetation. The park ranger had become invisible in plain sight. Using skills learned from decades of wildlife observation, Amy reached her first target point and began her careful work. The cliff face looked solid, but she could see the hairline fractures that revealed its weakness. A few stones placed in exactly the right spots, a little pressure applied at the perfect angle, and thousands of tons of rock would come crashing down exactly where she wanted them. Pete found the Shardvolf packs territory and began his most dangerous task. Using scent markers and territorial signals he had learned from their behavior patterns, he started guiding the pack toward the alien champions. The wolves had no fear of the strange visitors to their domain. Lisa coordinated everything from her central position, using reflected sunlight from her mirror to send coded signals to her team. The aliens were looking for a battle, but they were walking into the most sophisticated trap ever conceived by human minds. The hunt had begun, but the hunters had become the hunted without even realizing it. Ben Taylor moved through the tall grass like a shadow. His years in the Alaskan wilderness had taught him how to become invisible in any environment. Admiral Zexkar was only 30 feet away, thrashing through the vegetation and leaving a trail of destruction. The alien warrior had no idea he was being watched. Ben reached into his pack and pulled out small cloth strips he had prepared before entering the arena. Each one carried scent markers from the alien champions, collected from their quarters using cleaning supplies so basic the energy field had ignored them. He tied the first strip to a branch near the Shardvolf pack's hunting trail. The pack leader found the scent within minutes. Ben watched from his hiding spot as the massive creature, bigger than any earth wolf, sniffed a strange smell. Its lips pulled back to show teeth like broken glass. The wolf let out a low howl that was answered by 6 others hidden in the forest. Pack began following the scent trail Ben had carefully laid out. Each marker led them closer to Admiral Zexkar's position. The alien warrior was making so much noise that the wolves could track him from a mile away. On the other side of the arena, Amy Rodriguez crouched at the base of the rocky cliffs. Her trained eye could see what millions of years of wind and rain had done to the stone. Natural fractures ran through the rock like spider webs. She placed her first stone wedge into a crack that was barely visible. The timing had to be perfect. Amy knew that seismic activity on Zarian Prime followed a predictable pattern. Small tremors occurred every 15 minutes, caused by the planet's unstable core. She had calculated exactly when the next tremor would hit and where to apply pressure. To turn a minor shake into a major landslide, Sillineth was hunting nearby, using her psychic abilities to search for human thoughts. But Amy kept her mind focused on engineering calculations, thinking only about angles and stress points. To the vegan princess, these thoughts felt like background noise, not worth investigating. Pete Johnson had found the most dangerous part of his job. The Shardvolf pack wasn't the only predator in the arena. Flying creatures called razorhawks nested in the high cliffs, and they were fiercely territorial. Pete needed to disturb their nesting area at exactly the right moment to drive them toward the alien champions. He climbed carefully up the cliff face, using handholds that looked natural but had been mapped out during their preparation. The razorhawks watched him with bright yellow eyes. Their wings were sharp as knives, and their beaks could punch through armor plating. Pete reached the first nest and did something that looked simple but was actually based on years of animal behavior study. He moved one egg exactly 3 inches to the left. To humans, this would mean nothing. To the razorhawks, it was a sign that their territory was under attack. The birds exploded from their nests in a fury of wings and sharp cries. But instead of attacking Pete, who had already slipped away, they flew toward the scent trails he had left near Gorthic's position. The crystalline warrior was about to face an aerial assault he couldn't possibly expect. Lisa Carter coordinated everything from her position in the center of the arena. She used her mirror to catch sunlight and send flashes to her team members. 1 flash meant proceed with the plan. 2 flashes meant change position. 3 flashes meant immediate danger. She watched Admiral Zexkar getting closer to Ben's carefully laid trap. The alien warrior was following what he thought was a human trail, but Ben had actually created a path that led straight to the Shardvolf pack's ambush point. Sillineth was moving toward Amy's position, drawn by the sound of falling rocks as the engineer prepared her landslide. But the vegan princess didn't realize she was walking directly into the path of Amy's geological trap. Gorthic had reshaped his crystalline body into a hunting form, with blade-like arms and legs that could move faster than human eyes could follow. But his speed wouldn't help him against the razorhawk swarm that was about to descend on him. Vex Mori, in his gas form, was drifting through the arena like a deadly cloud. He thought he was invisible and untouchable, but Pete had studied the feeding patterns of the local plant life. Several species of flowers released toxic spores when they detected foreign gases in the air. The nebular warrior was about to discover that even creatures made of gas could be poisoned. The first part of the trap sprang when Admiral Zexkar reached the ambush point. The Shardvolf pack leader stepped out of the tall grass directly in front of him. The alien warrior smiled, thinking this would be an easy fight. "A local predator," he growled. "This will be good practice before I find the humans." But he had misunderstood the situation completely. This wasn't one wolf facing one warrior. The pack leader's howl brought 6 more wolves out of hiding, surrounding the admiral in a perfect circle. These weren't mindless beasts attacking randomly. They were coordinated hunters executing a battle plan that had evolved over millions of years. Admiral Zexkar's bone spurs and armor plating made him dangerous in single combat, but the wolves didn't fight like that. One would dart in to bite at his legs while another attacked from behind. When he turned to face that threat, a third wolf would strike from his blind side. The alien warrior was strong enough to kill any individual wolf, but he couldn't fight all 7 at once. His roars of anger echoed across the arena as he realized he was trapped in a battle. He couldn't win through brute force alone. At the same moment, Amy's geological trap activated. The small tremor she had been waiting for shook the ground, and the stone wedges she had placed turned the minor earthquake into a targeted avalanche. Tons of rock came crashing down exactly where she had calculated they would fall. Sillineth looked up just in time to see the landslide bearing down on her. She tried to use her psychic powers to move the rocks, but there were too many of them, moving too fast. Her telepathic abilities were useless against simple physics. The Razorhawks hit Gorth's position like a living tornado of sharp wings and cutting beaks. The crystalline warrior tried to reshape his body into a defensive form, but the birds attacked from every angle. His crystal flesh could deflect individual strikes, but hundreds of razor-sharp impacts began to chip away at his structure. Vex Mori discovered that being made of gas wasn't always an advantage when the toxic spores began to mix with his essence. The plant defenses that Pete had triggered were designed to deal with airborne threats. The nebular warrior found himself choking on his own existence as foreign chemicals invaded his gaseous form. In the observation area above the arena, the alien spectators watched in stunned silence. This wasn't the quick, brutal combat they had expected. Their greatest champions were being defeated not by superior warriors, but by the arena itself. "What's happening down there?" Empress Lithara demanded, but no one had an answer. The humans had turned the ancient fighting ground into a weapon that struck with perfect timing and coordination. Every element of the ecosystem was working together to eliminate the alien champions. The trap had been set, and now it was closing. Admiral Zexkar fought desperately against the Shard-Wolf pack, but the battle was already lost. His bone spurs had wounded 2 of the wolves, but the pack's coordinated attacks were wearing him down. Each time he turned to face one threat, another wolf struck from behind. Blood from dozens of bites covered his armored hide. The pack leader circled him slowly, waiting for the perfect moment. When the Admiral stumbled from exhaustion, the massive wolf leaped for his throat. Zexkar's natural armor saved his life, but the impact knocked him to the ground. The other wolves closed in immediately. "Impossible," the Admiral gasped as sharp teeth found the weak points in his armor. "We are the supreme warriors of the galaxy." But the wolves didn't care about galactic supremacy. They only knew that a strange creature had invaded their territory, and they would defend it to the death. Sillineth barely escaped the landslide by diving behind a large boulder. Rocks the size of cars crashed down around her, filling the air with dust and debris. When the rumbling stopped, she found herself trapped in a narrow space between fallen stones. She tried to use her psychic powers to move the rocks, but each one weighed several tons. Her mental abilities were designed for reading thoughts and controlling minds, not for moving massive objects. The more she struggled, the more trapped she became. "Help me," she called out, but her voice was lost in the dust and chaos. The landslide had buried the communication devices of all the alien champions. They were completely cut off from each other and from their support teams. Above, Gorthic's crystalline body was being torn apart by the Razorhawk swarm. Each bird strike chipped away small pieces of his structure. Individually, the damage was minor, but hundreds of impacts were destroying him piece by piece. He tried to reshape his body into a defensive shell, but the birds were too fast and too many. They attacked his joints and weak points with the precision of creatures that had hunted similar prey for millions of years. His crystal flesh began to crack and splinter. "These are just animals," he said to himself, trying to stay calm. "I am an advanced being. I can defeat mere beasts." But intelligence meant nothing when facing an entire ecosystem that had been turned against him. The Razorhawks weren't just attacking randomly. They were following behavior patterns that Pete Johnson had carefully triggered, patterns that made them see Gorthak as the greatest threat to their nesting area. Vexmori was suffering the worst fate of all. The toxic spores had mixed with his gaseous essence, poisoning him from the inside. He tried to purge the foreign chemicals from his system, but they were designed by evolution to be persistent and deadly. He attempted to return to his containment suit, but the spores followed him. The moment he became solid, the poison began attacking his physical form. When he turned back into gas, the toxin spread through his entire being. "This cannot be happening," he wheezed, his voice barely audible. "We chose this arena because it removes human technology. How are they defeating us?" In the observation area above, the alien spectators watched in stunned silence. The mighty champions of 4 great civilizations were being systematically destroyed by what appeared to be random animal attacks and natural disasters. "This is not possible," Empress Lithara said, her voice shaking with disbelief. "The humans never even engaged our champions in combat. They didn't need to," said Counselor Nith quietly. "Look at the timing. Every attack happened at exactly the right moment. The wolves appeared just when Admiral Zexkar was isolated. The landslide hit precisely when Princess Silenith was in the worst possible position. This was planned." The truth was beginning to dawn on the alien observers. They had been so focused on the physical superiority of their champions that they had missed the real battle entirely. The humans hadn't tried to fight the aliens at all. Instead, they had convinced the arena itself to do the fighting for them. "Lisa?" Carter emerged from her hiding place in the center of the arena. Her team was already gathering around her, their mission complete. Ben Taylor appeared from the tall grass like a ghost materializing from nothing. Amy Rodriguez climbed down from the cliffs, dusting rock powder from her hands. Pete Johnson dropped from a tree, his notebook full of animal behavior observations. "Is it over?" Ben asked, looking around at the chaos they had created. "Almost," Lisa replied. She pulled out her mirror and aimed it at the observation deck above. The reflected sunlight flashed a message in the old military code she had learned as a young officer. The message was simple: "We surrender." The alien spectators erupted in confusion. How could the humans surrender when they had clearly won? Their champions lay defeated across the arena floor, while the human team stood unharmed in the center. Commander Jake Martinez's voice came over the arena's communication system. "According to the ancient rules, the last faction standing wins the trial. The human team is the only group still able to fight." "But they never fought at all," Admiral Stone protested from his medical stretcher, where medics were treating his Volf bites. "The rules say nothing about how the victory must be achieved," Lisa called up to the observation deck. "Only that one side must defeat the other. We have done that." Empress Lithara stood slowly from her throne. "You used deception. You turned our own arena against us." "We used intelligence," Lisa corrected. "Every species in the galaxy has natural weapons. Thorians have bone spurs, vegans have telepathy, silicoids can reshape their bodies. Humans have our minds. We adapted to the environment instead of trying to dominate it." The alien council members looked at each other uncertainly. The trial had been conducted according to the ancient laws. The humans had won fairly, even if they had won in a way no one had ever imagined possible. "You expected us to fight like..." "You do," Jake Martinez said, standing beside his team. "But humanity's greatest strength was never our ability to destroy. It's our ability to understand, to adapt, and to find solutions where others see only problems. He gestured to the arena around them. We didn't need to defeat your champions with our own hands. We convinced the world itself to be our ally. That's what humans do. We don't conquer nature. We learn to work with it. The silence in the observation area stretched for long minutes. Finally, Empress Lithara spoke. The trial is concluded. By the ancient laws, humanity has won the right to their territorial claims. She paused, studying the 4 humans below. But more than that, you have shown us something we had forgotten. Intelligence can be more powerful than strength. As medical teams rushed to help the defeated alien champions, several council members approached Jake with a different kind of offer. Instead of seeking to limit human expansion, they wanted to learn from human problem-solving methods. We have many challenges in the galaxy that cannot be solved through combat, one alien diplomat explained. Perhaps it's time we learned new ways of thinking. Lisa smiled as she watched the alien medics work. The humans had won more than just a territorial dispute. They had earned respect as partners rather than threats. And sometimes, that was the greatest victory of all.